Hey everyone, so I wanted to catch you guys up on what's been going on in my mind with regards to world events and also the videos I had on world events and about preparing and getting ready, because this has been weighing on my mind for quite some time now. I actually went to go record a similar video to this a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and I felt the need to wait. Like, I felt like more information was supposed to be coming to me, and thinking on that, I'm like, I don't think any more information came, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just not the right time. Maybe there's something to do with the timing of me releasing this video. Today is Saturday, so I'll go ahead and just post this today. It's the 6th. Oh, I'm sorry, the 9th, which is so wild because that's part of this is like the significance of 6 and 9, how it's like Cancerian, right? Where it's flip-flop, like it's a mirror image. It's not a mirror image, is it? It's like a reflective image, and there's a significance to the number 9 specifically, but it's being shown to me to pay attention to the fact that it's a reflection of the number 6. And also I had 5 and 4, so it was showing me pay attention to 5 and 4 and how that is combined into 9, and how 9 is reflective of 6. So it was showing me the reflection, then it was showing me 5 to 4 to 9 and how that reflects. And also, when I said Cancerian, that is being like, it's flashing in my mind of repeating that and highlighting that. So that's something I did write down, and that's being told to me that's important, like Cancerian energy, or if there's like an age of Cancer or some sort of significance to that astrological sign and how that affects the world. So I am not familiar with astrology, so those of you, or just look it up later. All of this you should be looking up later, honestly. This is something else that I was thinking about talking about in a future video, but now that I just jumped in, I might as well just get started. Which, by the way, I wanted to mention why I haven't been doing videos like this lately, if anyone even wonders, and why I've been doing pick a card readings, is my life has been on 100 lately. I've been so busy with work and everything, just getting everything, like, basically when I said and everything, it's just getting my life organized. So I just been doing pick a card readings since this takes up a lot more of my mental space. And so yeah, that's what's been going on. So anyway, I wanted to talk about the nature of human error. Okay, humans are imperfect beings, and there's always going to be that struggle between our human nature, our intellect, our experience, our moods, everything, versus our spirit, which is why it's so important for us to honor this vessel, honor our body, take care of it in the best way that it can, so that it can work for our spirit. Well, does that make sense? So that our spirit can operate at its best peak performance, because our body is operating at its best peak performance, so it can work in tandem together. Not to mention the human nature of being, to get a little bit into religious terms, but being of a sinful creature. Like, we're creatures, right, of this world. And so there's that push and pull of our physical body and our wants and needs, as far as, biologically speaking, and also the desires and everything that kind of comes along with that, versus the pure form of us, our spirit, that doesn't desire or yearn for the things of this world or of our biological bodies. And so all of that to say that when we're looking at things with psychics or with anyone in, we're going to talk about psychics because obviously that's the subject that I'm on, is to look at it through the lens of that psychic. Like, I'm human. I will make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect every single time. And to work with me, don't look at me as if I'm going to know exactly what the answer is, or if there's not something that I'm interpreting in a way that isn't exactly correct, because I'm still learning. I'm never going to stop learning, and unfortunately, I'm just not going to be perfect. I'm imperfect. And that you can look at that into relations with doctors. The best and the brightest doctors had to learn their lessons somewhere. And on top of that, it's the fact that they're still going to make mistakes, unfortunately. And they're still going to have an off day or something of their human experience, right? Whether it's a biological process of theirs or mental process, whatever is going on that could put them off of their game as far as how effective they are, or if their experience leads them to give a misdiagnosis, right? And so that's the significance and the importance of doing your own due diligence as far as taking care of yourself, and also sometimes getting a second and third opinion on things. And so when it comes to psychic work, I think, like me personally, I can see how it's kind of, it is the same and different because of everything that I just said. But also, for me personally, I'm working with God, right? I'm working with the angelic realm. And so, from there, it should be the most clear and concise information that's coming through. And I do see from my personal experience, it's always been accurate. But again, and I've said this time and time again, that sometimes it's the way that I interpret it that's inaccurate. And so for me, I can see from like another person's perspective of how, oh, well, it's from spirit. Like this is something beyond the human, right? Like intelligence. And honestly, like when you compare it back to doctors, those are the also intuitive people. They just use their psychic ability in a way that is in the medical field. You get what I'm saying? I'm sure most of you understand what I'm saying, or all of you probably understand what I'm saying. And so that's also the importance of tuning into not just tuning into yourself, because that's just spinning me into circles of what I'm saying, but also biblically speaking, or some sort of religious text, like whichever one that you adhere to that is of this higher nature, this enlightened nature, to reference someone or something that has that direct information, that direct source, right? Like the Bible is the playbook that tells you the truths of the world and the truths of your journey. And so that can always be referenced back. You can always fall back on yourself and onto spirit for those answers, and understanding that there's a greater purpose to everything. That might sound like I'm a little bit derailing, but I feel that that's greatly in reference to everything that I'm seeing here, because my intuition has been lightning fast and lightning sharp lately when it comes to my personal life and my work life. It's actually been kind of shocking and jarring to see how sharp things have been in my life lately. It is different because it's always been like that, but there's just some sort of internal shift that's happened in me. And I haven't quite given it enough thought as to why it happened. Like, what was the turning point for me? Maybe it's the fact that I'm actually acknowledging it, while before I would always kind of dismiss it. Like, oh, this is not a big deal. Now I'm actually like paying attention. And so that got me thinking about those prior videos that I had posted. And the information stays the same. It stays the same. And so what does that tell me? Like, even that vibrating feeling, and I'm not talking about the one where I was referencing Russia. I mean, hold on. I was saying that, but I was thinking about the one before that. There was one before that I talked about shaking. Then I talked about Russia and how there's something. One of those videos, if you guys watch those, and you know what I'm talking about, where there was a globe, and then it was shaking. That's the same. I still get that same feeling. And it just feels like the entire world is shaking, and it feels like it's split down the middle. Like, completely split down the middle, like where Spain is on one side and the United States is on the other side, like right down that ocean. And geographically, it feels like the terrain is difficult, so people are forced to be separated from each other. It feels like I wrote that down, so let me look. Yeah, it's like there's a major split. Like, see, I put a little squiggle because there was a major split, and there's no choice but division. Like, people don't have a choice on if they want to go. I'm trying to see, and it feels like I'm trying to see if there's air travel, and it feels like there's movement in the air, but it feels minimal, and I can't pinpoint if that's because obviously you can only fit so many people on the plane, or if there's, like a militaristic reason for that, or if there's even people there. It feels like there's people up there, and it feels like they're up and then they're down, and I don't know if that means like they're safely descending or what, but that's what I'm seeing here. I'm gonna go ahead and cross off so I can get it. So I was asking, I'm asking Spirit, my guardian angels, and I'm saying, like, what do we need to know about this? Because my vision hasn't been changing with regards to that. And I was also trying to analyze the situation, because this is just speaking from my personal experience, but maybe this will help you guys out as far as your intuition goes. Of like, sometimes it's hard to discern between what information or what feelings are coming to me strictly for me, or if it's a message about something that's about to happen to people around me. It can get difficult sometimes, and it's not until it actually happens that I realize where that plays out, like who it plays out for. And ultimately it affects me, right? Because that's still within my inner circle. And so whenever I'm looking at this reading, I'm trying to discern, who does this affect? Does it affect you? Does it affect someone around you? Me? Who is it? And it feels like everyone. And I can't figure out if this is okay. this part, I'll finish my sentence, but this is actually untrue. It's not that I can't figure it out. I can't figure out, like, if this is divided up information or what. It's the fact that I haven't prioritized, which priority is important here, but it's because I haven't prioritized time out to really sit on this information. And what I'm being told right now is that I should, if I really want to get closer to the information, that I should be fasting and meditating. It's like you need to fast and meditate in order to really get a more clear and concise vision on what's coming. And there's a lot of people out there, including probably some of you who are watching, that have felt this too. You felt something is going to drastically transform the world, and don't know when, how, or what necessarily. For some of you, obviously, maybe some know more than others. But when you look at the current state of this world, it's drastically changing right now. It's drastically changing. And there's going to be a breaking point that really it's dividing the world. And it's not only dividing the world, but it's going to be like this major event that cannot be quite ignored in the same ways that these seemingly smaller events are occurring. And I say that not to devalue the significance of things that have been happening lately, but it's because those are so minuscule in comparison to that breaking point. This is all leading up, all these tensions are leading up to a huge occurrence. And so when I asked about all of this, what I was receiving, other than this, so me talking about this meditating and fasting, that's obviously new information. I've actually picked up on that a little bit here and there, but I've been ignoring it, and now it's come full into my awareness that that's why it's been coming up. So if that's a sign for anyone out there as well to consider that in your practice, then by all means don't ignore that sign. So what I was receiving, the information I was receiving, was to give this your best. Give this opportunity right now your absolute best. What have you learned up until now? What are you going to learn from this upcoming experience? And this conflict and tension, this worldly conflict and tension, what are you going to learn from this? And to be comfortable in discomfort. This is all a practice and leading up spiritually, if you so choose to use this as a learning experience so that you're not shocked when everything happens, of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that way you will be, it's like you'll feel less anxious, or you'll feel more safe when things get stressful and you're under pressure and you have no choice but to be uncomfortable. Then you'll be able to navigate those feelings in a more efficient way so that you can do the things that need to be done independently of any other resource that you could potentially need to rely on. I also put down that they were saying minimize the whys. The why didn't I? All the regrets. Minimize that. How you do that is looking at your position today. What is necessary and what isn't necessary for you? Like, for example, I have birds. So if anything were to happen, what can I do now that I could hedge against some sort of economic collapse or anything like that, right? Like with inflation going on and, you know, the supply chain breakdown, all the stuff that's happening now, if I couldn't get bird seed and they were hungry and I would regret it, and I say, why didn't I get more while it was on sale? Why didn't I go ahead and start planting bird seed that I knew that they would enjoy? Why didn't I put out the millet, you know, when I know that it's so easy to grow? Stuff like that. Like, minimize the why didn't I's. Think of, and this isn't to look at your life in an anxious and stressful manner. It's doing it in a responsible way, right? It's just being proactive, just like having an emergency kit ready. It's like, why didn't I get Band-Aids or whatever, those kinds of things. So pay attention to that. Basically, identify a future that looks uncomfortable for you and say to yourself, what would I look at myself and say, why didn't I do this? And then do that now while you have the opportunity. Just in case, but I really don't feel it's a just in case. It's really whatever this is going to happen. It's unavoidable, and I'll get to that in a moment. And be ready, be prepared. I've said that in those prior videos. I think that was the title to some of the videos. Be ready, be prepared. I put 6 to 9 months, and then I put pay attention to the numbers, and I told you about the numbers. I don't know if it's 6 to 9 months. That's what I heard. That's what I saw, but it was really the numbers. Maybe something's going to happen in 6 to 9 months. 6 to 9 months from July, December, January, February, March 2023. Yeah. You could also look at it as prepare for 6 to 9 months, right? Like maybe something's going to happen from December up until March, potentially this December. So prepare for something happening during that time. What would you need? Which is actually a good time right now if you could find, it's probably winter sales are probably over with by now, but if you could gather things for that, or for the next summer, the next spring, when those things go on sale. It could also mean 6 to 9 months of like downtime of something, or I'm not sure. That to me came here. Teeth, okay. It was funny at first to me, funny, not funny, how I'm always talking about in those preparedness videos and those other prior ones, I'm like always talking about my teeth. They always came up, and it came up again, which is very interesting to me because I'm wondering what this means. Teeth are mostly comprised of calcium deposits, right? I'm not sure, I think. What can leach calcium out of your body? Like, is there some sort of like chemical event that could occur that could leach the calcium out of your body is there's some significance to teeth because at this point I can no longer ignore it. Yes, dental health is very important, I get that, but there's something to do with our teeth that are important. So pay attention to that. I'm going to get to prioritize. We'll talk about priority now. That's the main advice that I get, is to prioritize your health in all aspects. Your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, and most importantly, your spiritual health. Prioritize your spirit. Prioritize finding peace in your spirit. In the midst of this chaos and change that's going to be occurring and has occurred, I cannot deny that for I don't know about the majority, but a lot of people, the majority of you who are watching this may not feel those effects as profoundly as some of these other places and people of already feeling those effects, because it feels like it's already started, obviously, but Europe is going to feel it sooner than the States and Canada and all these places are going to feel it. That side, the European side, and even like maybe, I don't know, something about Spain has been in my head during this. I kept looking at it on the map. I kept looking at Spain. And so, which I think, isn't Spain part of Europe? Something over there. And it feels rushed. Like my energy feels really rushed and just like active. Very, very active, like fast movement. It's not anxious. Like I don't feel anxious, but like it's like pent up energy. That's how I feel, is because I'm physically not moving. That's why it feels like pent up energy. But in reality, if I were to explain this feeling, it would be as if I was expelling this energy, like running really fast or just being really active and really alert, like hyper alert, hyper focused, and hyper aware. For those of you who have ever been in a traumatic situation where you've taken action, you haven't like just kind of observed it, and you've like taken action in this event, it's like this, it's hyper awareness of everything going on. That's what I feel, is like photogenic memory, just going analyzing every little tiny thing and moving very, very fast and calculated. Okay. So yeah, that's the advice. Prioritize, and prioritize ultimately peace and serenity within you. Identify, which obviously this is something I have to work on because of what I was talking about with like discerning between what's for me and what isn't, is identify what's within you, these feelings within you, and what is existing externally of you. And don't allow people to affect your inner peace. Okay, if there's chaos happening outside of you, for example, if someone was yelling at you, if someone was yelling at you, imagine yourself in this safety bubble of serenity, and do not allow that energy that they're projecting out towards you into that bubble. So you can effectively it's kind of like disassociating from that event and observing it and seeing them and their energy kind of dissipating around your bubble of protection so that you can stay within peace and you can think in a way that is not reactive to the situation. Okay? And that's how you should perceive what's happening right now in order to get things done properly, and also to tune in to your own inner thoughts. We'll get to that in a minute. The other thing that I'm seeing is what's going on here is a spiritual process of closing off a major cycle it's in the human journey. Like, we're living history, like in a major way, in a major turning point. And this is really the closing out of the way things have been for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. It's a closing off of that cycle. And so there's a major tension, major geopolitical tension, to say the least. And interestingly enough, what I feel is that we as a whole are deviating from the plan. And I just noticed my hand movement, and it brought this awareness to this. I was doing this, and for those of you who do not know, they tried to adapt that as devious. It's not. It's actually originally to repel. It's like the evil eye. It's to repel it. And that's what I see here, is that we've been, as a whole, for the most part. Sorry, I'm just getting new information. So what I'm seeing is like a well, like welling up from the into the surface. It's like that, this feeling like that, and it's as if like the soil. It's as if the soil looked uninhabited for so long, and it's just now like bubbling up out of the surface. And what that represents to me is how darker forces have been able to navigate the world for quite some time in a way that has been undetected. And it is this closing off of a cycle that was supposed to occur according to their plan, the darker forces' plan. However, there are people that are within positions of power that have, the closer that they get to these demonic forces, the more awakened they become, spiritually awakened and enlightened that they become. And so they are rebelling against it. And so that's where this explosion is coming from, because it's weakening their links. Because in order for them to shift everyone into their plan, into their demonic plan, is they still need to recruit people, because as human beings we're going to pass away. So they have to recruit those that they feel are part of this system, so that, and they have to be aware of some of the inner workings. And so the people who are aware of the inner workings are shifting their perception. They're deciding that some things are just they're enlightening themselves in some way, like the intervention, maybe some sort of spiritual intervention is happening where they see things in different ways and say, you know what, enough is enough. And I actually think this is in part for a lot of people who've been speaking out, people who have been comfortable in being uncomfortable and being that light work, or like that beacon of light for people to reference of how to be, or what's wrong with the things that are going on and what effects that can have. And so that is awakening these people enough that it's causing a breaking of the links. However, it's kind of looking at things as a huge wave. That's what I'm seeing, is like a huge wave, and how society operates as the wave. So as long as they can get that going, they can get that, like, let's say it's like a tsunami. Like, let's say if they could get that small little earthquake to go, then even though there's some waves, like some parts of society that are resisting, the overall effect is going to still occur. And so that's kind of what they're banking on. That's what they kind of operate on, is, yeah, people are awaking and resisting, but so long as society moves still in this curve, then we're good, because that's not going to be the majority. And the majority, irregardless, as long as they go along with it, even no matter their opinion, if they go along with it, then then these demonic forces obviously win, right? And so this tension, these breaks, these links are causing the weakening of the wave. It's a weakening of the tsunami. You can look at it as like sinkholes within the bottom of the ocean is kind of the way it's showing me. So it absorbs that tension. It absorbs it to where the effect is not as significant. The tsunami's effect is not as significant. And so this tension that's occurring is because, according to these demonic forces, it's not going accordingly to their plan. They saw it going another way. They're still moving towards it, but it's not going as cleanly as they want it to. And it's causing fear and frustration and chaos, and also it's incentivizing them even more to act even more crazy, because they're at their wits' end. So they're going to try everything they possibly can in order to keep this going, right? They're not going to give up. When you think about someone who's completely taken over by evil, who've completely sworn themselves off to serve evil, there is no stopping point. They will do everything that they are capable of in order to continue that. So that's something that we're going to be seeing play out in a bigger way. And it's important to also, once again, like, tune into intuition and decipher, like, why things are happening the way they are, why people are doing certain things, because it may be perceived one way when in reality it's something else, right? Like, maybe someone's going to be perceived as being a bad person, but they're actually trying to help, right? They're trying to help, but I'm saying it without saying it. But that's the real plan, is that it's not going to go according to plan, because at the end of the day, we all abide by a greater power, which is God, the creator of all things good and all things pure and all things of free will, which is us, souls. We are allowed free will. So it's not necessarily the creator of evil. We have created evil by our free will of denying and disassociating from what is pure and good and of source. So that's where that exists. It's not the creator of evil. It is the creator of the opportunity to do as you choose. But anyway, I'm going to move on from that without getting so deep into that, because this is already getting kind of long. In conclusion, we're just going to conclude with all of this. This whole situation that's coming up and has been slowly coming up. How long is this going to take? I think I'm talking about 6 to 9 months. I don't know what that is. All of this is going to be this generation, the next generation, the next generation. These are going to be very powerful generations. And the generation prior to me, I would say from like the 19 or the 18, somewhere from like, or somewhere around there, industrial period or something. I don't know, somewhere around there. Maybe the 1700s, 1600s. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to get good information. I would say from like the 1500s up until 2500. It's 1,000 years. This 1,000-year period, it's closing up. It's closing up, and it's going to be a completely different world than that ever was. Completely different. Completely different. Obviously, I mean, yeah, but it's what I see is potential morphing of human and computer, and essentially like fake spirit. What I mean by that is like people who've passed away and like using science, like some sort of mapping of who they are when they were alive, to create another being, a false being that would be as if they were alive, and people would perceive that as being alive and be like that's their soul carrying on, like people never dying, when in reality they are not there. It's like false. It's fake. It's fake. And it can be avoided. This is something that can be avoided, but it would mean everything has to be wiped away, is what it feels like. And there's going to be a lot of like ground wars. So, in conclusion, I wrote down, don't get stuck in suffering. You have to look at suffering as movement towards healing. You have to perceive what was, what is no longer, into what can become. And so don't get caught up and comfortable in too much suffering. And I think that also kind of ties back into being comfortable with being uncomfortable, being comfortable in discomfort, because that can give you that way to kind of dip in and out when it's appropriate, and to understand to kind of understand what is necessary and what isn't. I don't know if you can hear that. My cat is prying the door open, trying to. Antonella, can you please not do that? Love you. This is a separate message. Let me let her in. Oh, you rascal. She threw her toys. She does this sometimes. She'll throw her toys under the door. She'll shove them under the door and then put her paws underneath to try and grab it. She makes that her own little game. So this is interesting, and I think this has a lot to do with demonic forces. And if you watch my other videos, you'll see how this all kind of connects. Where essentially it's saying, I've said how they only copy, they cannot create. Creating comes from source. It comes from enlightened place. It comes from God. And that even kind of ties into the narcissism videos I've had, where narcissists, obviously and psychopaths and sociopaths, they mimic good people. They mimic these good qualities. They manipulate these good qualities in order to be perceived as something that they are not, right? And same with like them existing, the demonic people and all these who worship these entities. They are oftentimes masking as preachers or within the church system because they want to get close to the enemy, which is God. God is their enemy. Or they want to understand the enemy so that they can pose as that, so that they can get unsuspecting people, right? And so that's what I have here, is what I was hearing was the one thing that was fabricated or inspired. The one thing that was fabricated, and it was inspired by something of the light, of something good. And it's this, hi, now my dog's in here. Hi, I'm recording, do you mind? Thank you, love you. So it's understanding within yourself and other people of why did you do it? Why did you think that was okay? That's this big life lesson for everyone, is why did you think it was okay to do some of the things that were of the darkness? And why did you do it? And from there you can become better people, right? It's about not holding yourself at an unrealistic standard of perfection, as if someone exists that's perfect. It's understanding that we are imperfect people, that we do fall from grace from time to time. We fall into these temptations or transgressions, but to strive for protection, strive for perfection. I was going to say protection, but we are always protected, and to also strive to stay and remain protected in our own peace of mind and our own personal space of, I am allowed to make mistakes in life, but why did I do it? And not to get comfortable in punishing yourself or to punish other people. It's about growing from that situation and breaking past this perceived viewpoint of chaos in the world, right? It's about keeping that bubble, or the way that I put it is going past the shore, the breaking of the waves, getting past it, the calmness, and looking at everything in its true most perfect form, and seeing, this is the other lesson of everything that's occurring and why this is occurring, and the fact that it is occurring in according to divine plan, which is that perception of disconnectedness is no longer going to exist. And how that's going to happen, I think it depends. And so what I would say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I would ramble on longer than this to really get into my own personal beliefs on all of this, but this breaking point that we're going through right now is shifting between what we're going to do next. It's kind of up to us, right? Our free will as a whole. What are we going to do next? Are we going to have this connectedness in a more pure form, or are we going to do it in a manipulative form, where what I talked about, where we're connected mentally to some sort of computer system that makes it seem as if we are still present and we're connected to spirit, when in reality we're not. When in reality what we're seeing is a complete illusion. It's a fraud, right? Are we going to allow science to be manipulated, or are we going to have an ethical approach to these advancements in science and technology? And so again, it's for everyone in this process, especially if you identify as a light worker, of saying, of understanding and realizing in deeper and deeper and deeper levels of the duality of everything, and how that duality is in truth the connectedness, right? That demonic forces and darker forces are in fact connected to the lighter aspects of things. There is no distance between that. It's that absence doesn't exist. That absence does not exist is actually the imbalance of things, and how to pull yourself out of that imbalance and see it as one. And so that's basically everything that I was seeing. That's it. I'll pull, because I have this here, Archangel cards, because why not? Any final message? crystal clear intentions, Archangel Michael. Be clear about what you desire and focus upon it with unwavering faith. So what I see with this is step by step, things will happen for you in the way that they need to. Don't worry about all the finer details of everything. Just tune into yourself. Internally find out what it is that you truly desire in your heart. What is your soul calling you out to do? Why are you here? What are you meant to do? What things do you need in order to feel fulfilled and happy and content and not live with regrets? And also when I talked about the preparedness of why didn't I, it's also about expressing your inner truth and expressing your love for other people and just being there for people, right? Don't think of why didn't I tell someone how much I cared about them? Why didn't I buy this person an extra coffee when I thought that they looked sad? You know, like just small things like that. Allow spirit, allow God to work through you, and when that time to take action is relevant for you, it will happen for you. Don't compare to other people's progress, because there's nobody else like you. No one's going to have the same journey as you. No one's going to have the same thoughts and experiences or anything as you. So there's no need for you to use that as a roadmap for your success and for your desires and futures. So just allow your intention to be set and make sure that it comes from the most pure part of you, so that you can be fully aware of yourself and your wants and needs, and allow that to transpire in divine, whatever the divine process is. So spread your wings, don't hold back right now. The timing is perfect. You are ready to soar. So that's what I see. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.